They lied to you about what happened in Egyptian temples. If you love ancient history, myths, and deep secrets, hit the subscribe button because these hidden truths will change how you see our ancient parents forever. For 200 years, Western historians called them temple prostitutes, sacred sex workers, religious whores serving Egyptian men. It's in textbooks, museum placards, documentaries, academic papers. And it's complete bullshit, because the women who served in Egyptian temples weren't selling sex. They were teaching it, documenting it, studying the human body with scientific precision that wouldn't be matched for 3,000 years. They were physicians, researchers, the original sex therapists, and they had more political power than most men in ancient Egypt. But Victorian scholars couldn't handle that, so they rewrote history, called these women prostitutes, turned scientific institutions into brothels, and we believed them. For 2 centuries. Let me show you what Egyptian temples actually were, and how the women inside them controlled pharaohs, influenced policy, and preserved knowledge that the modern world is only now rediscovering. This isn't about sex. This is about power, knowledge, and the systematic erasure of female genius. Everything I'm about to tell you is based on evidence that Victorian historians ignored because it contradicted their narrative. Physical evidence. Temple of Hathor at Dendera medical texts on walls. Deir el-Medina papyri training documents for priestesses. Ebers Papyrus, 1550 BC. Medical knowledge attributed to temple women. Temple workshops with anatomical models. Pharmaceutical preparation areas. Modern archaeological reassessment. Dr. Rosalie David, Egyptologist, 2010s. Temple women were medical practitioners. Dr. Joyce Tilsley, 2015. Sacred prostitution is a Victorian invention. Dr. Kara Cooney, 2020s. These were Egypt's most educated women. What changed? Modern female Egyptologists actually read the primary sources in context, without Victorian moral panic. And they found no evidence of prostitution, mountains of evidence of medicine, education, and political influence. The temple prostitute myth? Created by male historians who couldn't imagine women having institutional power without sex being the explanation. Let me show you what they really did. Let's start with the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. Built around 2250 BC, continuously operated for over 2,000 years. Victorian historians called it a pleasure temple. Said priestesses there served men sexually as religious ritual. Then modern archaeologists actually looked at the walls, read the inscriptions, examined the rooms, and found something completely different. The medical complex. The Temple of Hathor wasn't a pleasure palace. It was a hospital, with specialized departments. The gynecology wing. Examination rooms with stone beds. Shelves for medical instruments. Walls covered with anatomical diagrams. Treatment protocols for difficult pregnancies, menstrual disorders, fertility issues, childbirth complications, infections. This isn't speculation. The hieroglyphs describe procedures, list symptoms, recommend treatments. It's medical documentation. In a temple, run by women, the pharmacy, preparation rooms for medicines, ingredient storage with labels, formulation instructions on walls, prescriptions for contraceptives, they had these, pain management, infection prevention, hormone regulation, the library/training center, scrolls documenting treatments, teaching texts for new priestesses, case studies of past patients, anatomical references. This is a medical school for women. In 2000 BC, when Victorian historians found it, they couldn't comprehend that. Women running hospitals, teaching medicine? Impossible. Must be prostitutes. The education system. Becoming a priestess of Hathor took years of training. Not sex training. Medical training. From papyri found at temple sites, we can reconstruct the education. Year 1 to 2, basic knowledge. Anatomy, male and female. Herbology, medicinal plants. Hygiene and infection prevention. Reading and writing, hieroglyphs and hieratic script. Mathematics, 4 dosage calculations. Year 3 to 4, specialized training. Gynecology and obstetrics. Fertility treatments. Sexual health and dysfunction. Pharmaceutical preparation. Surgical techniques, yes, surgery. Year 5 plus, clinical practice. Supervised patient treatment. Diagnosis skills. Counseling techniques. Teaching junior priestesses. This is more rigorous than most medieval European medical training, and it's happening 3,500 years earlier. But Victorian historians looked at sexual health in the curriculum and went, prostitutes? No. Sex therapists, physicians, educators. There's a difference. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because these women didn't just treat patients. They influenced politics. Let me show you how. The fertility crisis. Imagine you're Pharaoh. You've been married for 5 years. No children. No heir. This is an existential crisis. No heir means succession crisis when you die. Civil war risk. Your dynasty ends. You're considered cursed by the gods. So what do? You go to the Temple of Hathor. To the priestesses who've studied fertility for generations. Who have documented treatments. Who understand the human reproductive system better than anyone alive. And suddenly these women have enormous power over you. Evidence, the case of Amenhotep III. Amenhotep III ruled 1391 to 1353 BC. Married to Queen Tai. Took 10 years to produce a surviving heir. Temple records show. Queen Tai visited Hathor Temple repeatedly. Priestesses prescribed specific herbs. Recommended timing and positions. Treated Amenhotep for weakness. Eventually, successful pregnancy. Afterward, Amenhotep lavished gifts on the temple. Land grants, gold, political appointments for priestesses' families, expansion of temple facilities. This isn't prostitution. This is medical consultation leading to political influence. The priestesses who helped secure the royal succession became untouchable politically. The counseling dimension. But it went deeper than just fertility treatments. Because royal marriages were political arrangements, not love matches. Pharaohs married for alliances, princesses from foreign countries, women they'd never met, with language barriers, cultural differences, and they were expected to produce heirs. Immediately. Enter the temple priestesses, who provided marriage counseling, teaching couples how to actually communicate, bridging cultural differences, explaining each other's expectations, sexual education. What neither party knew, royal children were sheltered. Techniques for pleasure, both partners. How to overcome dysfunction. How to conceive effectively. Psychological support. For women in foreign lands. For men under succession pressure. For couples in loveless marriages. This is therapy. Professional counseling. With documented case notes. Victorian historians called it prostitution because it involved sex education. But teaching someone about their body isn't prostitution. It's medicine. The political network? But here's the real power move. Because helping royal couples meant priestesses built relationships with the pharaoh who they treated, the queen who they counseled, royal children who they delivered, foreign princesses who trusted them. They became confidants, not to one person, to entire royal families, which meant they knew who was infertile, political vulnerability, who was having affairs, blackmail material, which marriages were strong, future alliances, which heirs were legitimate, succession intel. They were sitting on the most sensitive information in Egypt, and they used it carefully, strategically. Evidence, the Amarna period. When Akhenaten tried to close traditional temples in his religious revolution, 1353 to 1336 BC, he faced massive resistance. Not from priests, from priestesses. Why? Because closing temples meant losing medical facilities, ending training programs, destroying accumulated knowledge, eliminating women's institutional power. Records show priestesses lobbied royal wives to oppose Akhenaten, preserved medical texts by hiding them, maintained secret networks, helped restore traditional religion after his death. They outlasted a pharaoh's religious revolution because they controlled knowledge that Egypt couldn't function without. Okay, so what did these priestesses actually know? What made them so valuable? Let me show you knowledge that was lost for millennia and we're only now rediscovering. Contraception. The Ebers Papyrus, 1550 BC, contains contraceptive formulas used by temple priestesses. Recipe: acacia leaves, honey, dates, ground together, inserted vaginally. Sounds random, right? Except, acacia ferments into lactic acid, which modern science has confirmed is an effective spermicide. They didn't understand the chemistry, but through centuries of documentation and observation, they found what worked. That's empirical science. 3,500 years before the scientific method. Anatomy. Temple walls at Dendera show detailed anatomical drawings. Female reproductive system, remarkably accurate. Male anatomy. Circulatory system, they understood blood flow. Nervous system, primitive but present. They're doing dissections, or extensive observation of surgical patients. They're documenting what they find. They're teaching this to new priestesses. Medieval European physicians didn't have this level of anatomical knowledge, but Egyptian priestesses in 2000 BC did. Fertility science. They understood menstrual cycles, documented them, used them to predict fertility. Temple records show. Tracking methods, counting days from last menstruation. Optimal conception windows. Signs of ovulation. Early pregnancy detection methods. They didn't know about hormones or eggs, but they observed patterns, documented outcomes, refined techniques. This is the scientific method. Observation, documentation, replication, refinement. In 2000 BC, by women, whom Victorian historians called prostitutes. Sexual dysfunction treatment. They documented and treated male issues, erectile dysfunction, herbal remedies that actually worked, premature ejaculation, breathing techniques, numbing agents, low libido, dietary changes, supplements, female issues, painful intercourse, lubricants, positioning, medical causes, vaginismus, progressive desensitization, same treatment used today, low arousal, hormone-regulating herbs. These aren't just random folk remedies. These are documented treatment protocols with success rates noted. Modern sex therapy uses many of the same approaches. We just invented them in the 1960s. Egyptian priestesses were doing it 4,000 years earlier. So if all this evidence exists, medical texts, anatomical diagrams, treatment protocols, political influence, why do we think they were prostitutes? Because Victorian historians were terrified of female sexuality and female power. Let me show you how they rewrote history. The Victorian interpretation. Sir Gaston Maspero, French Egyptologist, writes, "The temples maintained women for the pleasure of devotees. These sacred prostitutes performed rituals of physical union as worship." Is evidence? None. You just assumed. Sir William Flinders Petrie writes, "The priestesses of Hathor clearly engaged in ritual prostitution, as was common in primitive religions." Is evidence? He found rooms with beds in temples, medical examination beds. But he assumed, beds equals sex equals prostitution. Adolf Ehrman publishes Life in Ancient Egypt. Temple women sold their bodies to fund religious activities. This was considered sacred. Is evidence? Misreading hieroglyphs that actually describe medical treatments. 3 influential historians. All men. All Victorian. All imposing their cultural assumptions onto Egyptian evidence. And their interpretations became fact. In textbooks, museums, popular culture. Why they couldn't accept the truth? Why did they do this? Because accepting what the evidence actually showed would mean admitting. Ancient women had institutional power. Ancient women practiced medicine. Ancient women studied sexuality scientifically. Ancient women influenced politics. Ancient women preserved knowledge. In Victorian England, women couldn't vote, own property after marriage, practice medicine mostly, hold political office, access most university education. And these historians had to believe that Victorian society represented progress, that the past was more primitive, that gender roles were natural and unchanging. Finding evidence of powerful, educated, politically influential women in ancient Egypt contradicted that entire worldwide view. So they rewrote it, turned physicians into prostitutes, turned hospitals into brothels, turned scientific institutions into sex dens, because that fit their narrative, the evidence they ignored. Here's what Victorian historians had access to but chose to ignore. Medical texts explicitly describing treatments. They called these love spells, anatomical diagrams with labels. They called these fertility rituals, training documents for priestesses. They called these initiation rites, pharmaceutical preparation instructions. They called these magical formulas, records of priestesses being paid salaries. They called this compensation for services. Every single piece of evidence that said medical institution, they reinterpreted as prostitution. Not because the evidence supported it, because their worldview required it. But something changed in the last 30 years. Female Egyptologists started re-examining the evidence without Victorian assumptions. And the truth emerged. The reassessment. Dr. Rosalie David, 2010. Temple priestesses were medical practitioners specializing in women's health and fertility. This sacred prostitution theory lacks any archaeological support. Dr. Joyce Tilsley, 2015. We found no evidence of prostitution in Egyptian temples. What we found is evidence of sophisticated medical practice by highly trained women. Dr. Kara Cooney, 2018. Temple priestesses wielded considerable political power through their role as royal consultants on fertility and health matters. Dr. Stephanie Boudin, 2008. Published entire book, The Myth of Sacred Prostitution in Antiquity. Conclusion. No evidence in Egypt, Greece, Rome, or Mesopotamia for institutional sacred prostitution. It's a Victorian invention based on misreading ancient sources. The academic community is finally admitting, we were wrong. For 200 years. We called these women prostitutes when they were actually physicians, researchers, and political advisors. What we're still discovering. Current archaeological work is revealing even more sophistication. 2019 discovery at Dendra. Advanced surgical instruments. Sterilization protocols. Post-operative care instructions. 2021 papyrus analysis. Training curriculum for priestesses. 7-year education program. Specialization tracks. Gynecology, pharmacy, counseling. 2023 temple workshop excavation. Pharmaceutical lab with 200+ ingredient storage. Experimentation notes. Quality control procedures. The more we dig, the more impressive it gets. And the more obvious it becomes. These weren't prostitutes. They were professionals. Why am I so angry about this? Why does it matter that Victorian historians got it wrong? Because this pattern repeats. Throughout history. Across cultures. The pattern. Women achieve something impressive. Male historians can't believe women did it. They rewrite it to make men the achievers. Or they sexualize women's achievement. The lie becomes accepted history. We lose knowledge of what women actually accomplished. Examples. Medieval medical women were actually skilled healers, called witches later, burned for practicing medicine. Ancient Greek scholars. Multiple female philosophers, mathematicians, mostly erased from records. The few we know, assumed to be men students, not innovators. Islamic Golden Age scientists. Women contributed to astronomy, medicine, mathematics. Credited to male relatives or erased entirely. Egyptian temple priestesses. Ran hospitals, conducted research, wielded political power. Called prostitutes for 200 years. We keep doing this. We keep erasing women's achievements. Or sexualizing them. Or attributing them to men. And every time we do, we lose role models. Historical accuracy. Knowledge of what's possible. Understanding of our own capabilities. The modern parallel. And we're still doing it. Women in STEM. How do you deal with being one of the only women? Women CEOs. Media focuses on their appearance, their families, their likability. Women politicians. Criticized for ambition that's praised in men. Same pattern. Different century. We still can't just let women's achievement be achievement. We have to question it. Sexualize it. Diminish it. But here's the thing. The evidence is still there. In temples. In papyri. In archaeological sites. Egyptian priestesses were brilliant, powerful, accomplished. Victorian historians tried to erase that. But the stones remember. The texts survive. And now we know the truth. They weren't prostitutes. They were physicians, researchers, political advisors. They ran hospitals that operated for 2,000 years. They preserved knowledge that we're only now rediscovering. And for 200 years we called them prostitutes. Because Victorian men couldn't imagine women having that much power. But the evidence doesn't lie. There are more stories like this. More women erased from history. More achievements rewritten. More lies we were taught. If you want to learn the truth, you know what to do. Subscribe for more. because they tried to erase these women. But they failed.